Today is March 18th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 steps and 12 traditions. Today out of the Big Book, we are on Chapter 5, How It Works. We'll read page 65. Out of the 12 and 12, we're on Step 9. We'll read page 87. And of course, we'll read the 24 hours a day and daily reflection. So with that, hope you all are doing well this morning, my friends. Life is good over here. It's so nice. I woke up. I thanked my higher power for another day sober. Got on my knees, started praying a little bit. My little buddies, my little fur babies are in here with me. And I just got to thinking, how blessed am I that this is exciting to do this every day. What a blessing. So with that, let's go ahead and get to the good stuff. All right, my friends. So here we are out of the Big Book. 2 days ago, we wrapped up Step 3, where we made the decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. And then yesterday, we talked about Step 4. We started introducing it, where we took this personal inventory, which was a fact-facing and fact-finding process. But we talked about yesterday how this doesn't have to be just, your dirty secrets. It's all about figuring out who we're resentful at, what was the cause of the resentment, and what does it affect in us. And we're going to see a demonstration of that today on page 65. So let's get to it. Page 65. On our grudge list, we set opposite each name our injuries. Was it our self-esteem, our security, our ambitions, our personal or sex relations, which had been interfered with? We were usually as definite as this example. I am resentful at Mr. Brown. The cause, his attention to my wife. Told my wife of my mistress. Brown may get my job at the office. This affects my sex relations, self-esteem, fear, sex relations, self-esteem, security, self-esteem. I am resentful at Mrs. Jones. The cause? She's a nut. She snubbed me. She committed her husband for drinking. He's my friend and she's a gossip. This affects my personal relationship and my self-esteem, which is fear. I'm resentful at my employer. The cause? He's unreasonable, unjust, overbearing. Threatens to fire me for drinking and padding my expense account. This affects my self-esteem, fear, and security. I am resentful at my wife. The cause? She misunderstands and nags, likes Brown, wants the house put in her name. This affects my pride, personal sex relations, and security, fear. We went back through our lives. Nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. When we were finished, we considered it carefully. The first thing apparent was that this world and its people were often quite wrong. To conclude that others were wrong was as far as most of us ever got. The usual outcome was that people continued to wrong us and we stayed sore. Sometimes it was remorse, and then we restored ourselves. But the more we fought and tried to have our own way, the worse matters got. As in war, the victor only seemed to win. Our moments of triumph were short-lived. Out of the 12 and 12, we're on Step 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. And in the last couple of days, we talked about how people might receive the amends, whether it's positive or negative. But regardless, we do our part. And regardless of their reaction, we clean our side of the street and admit our wrongs and let it go. But yesterday, we also talked about how there are exceptions to this. We cannot, for example, unload a detailed account of extramarital adventuring upon the shoulders of our unsuspecting wife or husband. And it says, let's try to avoid harming third parties, whoever they may be. And I love this last line. It does not lighten our burden when we recklessly make the crosses of others heavier. So just to clear our conscience, we don't want to hurt so many other people. So maybe talking to a trusted friend or a spiritual advisor or sponsor before you make any amends might be a good idea. So we are going to finish off this chapter, step 9, beginning with 86 and ending with 87. Last paragraph of 86. Many a razor-edged question can arise in other departments of life where the same principles involved. Suppose, for instance, that we have drunk up a good chunk of our firm's money, whether by borrowing or on a heavily padded expense account. Suppose that this may continue to go undetected if we say nothing. Do we instantly confess our irregularities to the firm in the practical certainty that we will be fired and become unemployable? Are we going to be so rigidly righteous about making amends that we don't care what happens to the family and home? Or do we first consult those who are to be gravely affected? Do we lay the matter before our sponsor or spiritual advisor, earnestly asking God's help and guidance? Meanwhile, resolving to do the right thing when it becomes clear, cost what it may. Of course, there is no pat answer which can fit all dilemmas. But all of them do require a complete willingness to make amends as fast and as far as may be possible in a given set of conditions. Above all, we should try to be absolutely sure that we are not delaying it because we are afraid. For the readiness to take the full consequences of our past acts and to take responsibility for the well-being of others at the same time is the very spirit of step 9. "24 hours a day, March 18th. AA thought for the day. When we alcoholics first come to AA and we face the fact that we must spend the rest of our life without liquor, it often seems like an impossibility to us. So AA tells us to forget about the future and take it one day at a time. All we really have is now. We have no past time and no future time. As the saying goes, yesterday's gone, forget it. Tomorrow never comes, don't worry. Today is here, get busy. All we have is the present. The past is gone forever and the future never comes. When tomorrow gets here, it will be today. Am I living one day at a time? Meditation for the day. Persistence is necessary if you are to advance in spiritual things. By persistent prayer, persistent, firm, and simple trust, you achieve the treasures of the Spirit. By persistent practice, you can eventually obtain joy, peace, assurance, security, health, happiness, and serenity. Nothing is too great in the spiritual realm for you to obtain if you persistently prepare yourself for it. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may persistently carry out my spiritual exercises every day. I pray that I may strive for peace and serenity. Daily Reflection, March 18th. Real independence. The more we become willing to depend upon a higher power, the more independent we actually are. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 36. I start with a little willingness to trust God, and He causes that willingness to grow. The more willingness I have, the more trust I gain. And the more trust I gain, the more willingness I have. My dependence on God grows as my trust in Him grows. Before I became willing, I depended on myself for all my needs, and I was restricted by my incompleteness. Through my willingness to depend upon my higher power, whom I choose to call God, all my needs are provided for by someone who knows me better than I know myself. Even the needs I may not realize, as well as the ones yet to come. Only someone who knows me that well could bring me to myself and help me fill the need in someone else that only I am meant to fill. There will never be another exactly like me, and that is real independence. All right, my friends, that concludes today's reading, and man, this is so stinking hard. I've only got like 5 minutes to talk here, and there's so many good things that you could talk about and expand on, but I cannot not talk about the big book today. I mean, this is where we get really specific here about our inventory, right? So let's talk about how it was laid out. First, we listed our resentments. So this guy named Mr. Brown, I always love what Joe and Charlie said. I think Joe even's like, ooh, even I don't like Mr. Brown, and I don't even know the guy. But yeah, so we mentioned the person that we're resentful at first. That's in one column. And then we do the cause. Okay, why are we resentful at that person? Well, in this example, Mr. Brown has attention to the person's wife, which I would be resentful. I get that. Told my wife of my mistress. Oh, well. Okay, and then another cause. Brown may get my job at the office. So, might get the wife and the job. So, Mr. Brown's, he's been busy. So, what does this affect? Well, this is where we get to the root causes. 1, this affects my sex relations. Talked about the mistress and the wife. 2, this affects my self-esteem. And besides self-esteem, I think in every example on this page, in parentheses, besides self-esteem, it says fear, which is interesting, right? When I have low self-esteem, I am fearful. I've noticed that. I fear what others think about me. I fear that I might not fit in. So I'm glad that they mentioned that. So it affects my sex relations, my self-esteem, my security. What do they mean by that? Well, Brown is going to might get his job at the office. He might lose his wife. So maybe his relationship security or social security, but not the money. His financial security. Okay. And if he gets his job and his wife, that affects his self-esteem. So once again, he's got a lot of fear going on here. So I think a big part of this is just to figure out who we're resentful at specifically, what caused that resentment in the first place, and then the most important thing, what is this affecting in us? What is the root cause here of this resentment? And it's not to say, hey, you're a horrible person. No, it's to say, hey, what's really going on in your heart here? And I love at the bottom here, it says, we went back through our lives. Nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. Being thorough with this. Don't worry about how it looks. Just put the pen to paper and just be thorough and be honest. And as a dear friend of mine would always say, write some positive things about yourself as well. Because we're not horrible people. We're human. And yeah, we make mistakes. But how are we ever going to correct these mistakes if we can't get down to the root causes? You know, when I'm weeding the garden, right? And I just real quickly just pull out a couple of the weeds on the surface, right? But I don't get down to the root. Guess what? It's going to come back. Sure, maybe gone for a day or two, but it will grow back. So the inventory here is all about getting to the root causes. That's all. This is actually very practical. This is not a, hey, let's dig up everything from the past to make you feel terrible kind of situation. No, it's about, hey, okay, you're upset with these mistakes that you've made, or you're upset with some people. Okay, let's get down to you. What is this affecting in you? And how can we deal with that? And I think that's awesome. So practical. So yeah, here we have, again, just 3 columns. Who we're resentful at? That's column 1. Column 2, the cause. What caused the resentment? And then column 3, what is this affecting in us? I love that they demonstrate that. And if you ever heard the Joe and Charlie tapes, they do a really good job. They even have their own kind of chart that I got. I remember getting this Joe and Charlie workbook that came with the tapes. It's kind of neat. They scripted everything that Joe and Charlie said from the tapes. So it's all in writing. And it has attached all the like PDFs of workbooks, scientific studies that they did about alcoholism and all kinds of stuff. It's really cool, especially for visual learners and tactile people that want to kind of take notes as you go based on the tapes. But yeah, they have an inventory sheet that's great. And then real quick, I think it was a 24 hours a day talking about today. My sponsor used to tell me this funny story. It's kind of crass, but here we go. If you have 1 foot in yesterday and 1 foot into tomorrow, you're pissing all over today. And that's so true. How many times have I thought about my past, things I can't change? How many times I worried about the future that really isn't a guarantee? And during that time, I've completely neglected the day and the moment in which I'm living. It's crazy. And I always I'm a big Rocky fan. I'm a Philly boy. And I think I've shared this one time, a long time ago. But in Rocky 3, Rocky, he's training for this big fight. He's already lost to Clubber Lang. He's lost the title. And Clubber Lang's just talking trash. And then poor Adrian gets really sick. Oh, and I think he also loses Mick during this process, his original trainer. And he is in a really, really low point. And Apollo Creed's training him. And he's like, "What's wrong with you, Rock? Come on, I need you to give me your best. Why are you quitting now?" And Rocky just can't snap out of it. He's thinking about his past. He's afraid of the big fight. And he's paralyzed. So finally, Apollo snaps at him and goes, "We need to train today." And Rocky's like, "Look, I will. I'll get right back on it. Just give me one more day. I'll train tomorrow." And Creed slams the door, slams the wall, and he goes, "There is no tomorrow." And that always stood out to me. There is no tomorrow. It's only these increments we have right here and right now, right? So as I'm recording this, it is 5:13 in the morning. I've got 19 more hours if I'm lucky. I want to spend those 19 hours, or at least a big chunk of them. I know there's some sleep hours in there. Being of service. I love Dead Poet Society, right? Mr. Keating is my hero. Robin Williams' character. Oh, but he always preached to his students, carpe diem. How can I seize the day today? Well, this is one thing I'd love to do, but also be of service to somebody else. Put my family before myself. Maybe I can tell somebody I love them that I haven't talked to in a long time. Real quick side note, I reconnected with my sister, who I actually never have, to this day, I've never met in person. And I won't bore you with all the details, but it's definitely a God thing in how we reconnected. But my point is, it all started with, you know what? I hadn't talked to her in a while. Let me send her a text real quick. And then something beautiful sprouted from that. So how can you seize the day today? Well, we can start off by appreciating the fact that we're sober. And if you are sober today, my friend, you're a miracle. And I am honored to know you. I'm so proud of you. And you are giving a great gift to those around you. And if you're not sober today, I hope you know that you're worthy of recovery. That you have worth and value, and your story is not done yet. I pray that today you get the help you need. And also be kind to yourself. A lot of times, we're nice to everybody else, but we're so nasty to ourselves. And I heard this quote the other day, and it's stuck out to me ever since. But try speaking to yourself the way that you would have liked to be spoken to as a 6-year-old child. We are way too hard on ourselves sometimes. And then last thing I heard from a dear friend, and this really stood out to me in a meeting yesterday, he said, when God put me off the cosmic bus. He got off the bus and sat down beside me on the curb, and he said, "I will always be with you, but you won't see me again until you hit your knees and surrender. And then you will see me everywhere." So how can we see our higher power today? That's a great challenge for me. But if we were given another set of 24 hours, my friends, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.